Buenos dias, cabroncito. It is day 38 of the Do You Rules live stream experience. And because the image you see is of an egghead bald man in his 40s, it implies that I have wisdom to share, and the microphone is validation that I am a host of what you might describe as a podcast experience. And because we're day 38 in, and if you're following me, you think two things might have happened. One, I'm either out of my mind and have totally lost it, or two, I've gained a lot of confidence and the true character of Cliche Jeff is coming all the way out. Ooh, baby. Either way, it's day 38. You can probably tell how I'm feeling. I'm feeling beautiful. I'm feeling blessed. I hope you are too. However, you define blessed, that's a lot of what I think and what I hope. I don't even know what I think and hope, but something's going to happen today. Something's going to happen during this experience. We're going to talk. Well, I'm going to talk. I'm going to do all the talking, really. And whatever happens after that and during that is going to happen. That is quite for sure. Let's do what we would call a systems and a stuff check because I can't think of any other word. But when I'm parched, I guess this would be for when I'm sort of parched too, or dry, or combination of both. Certainly can't go without it. I really like this. I would say interestingly, if you follow me enough, you know I have my addictive ways, and we're all addicted somehow. I said this before. The sensation of the medication. This one's medicated. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if you really care. It's medicated. But because of the medication, it gives you a tingly feeling. Fun fact before I go into the tingliness, the red book of monstrous authoritative power over cliche Jeff's life. Man, this book is becoming this I said it before. Two things. I'm gonna tell you about the tingly feeling, and I'm gonna tell you something that somebody wrote about having a specific type of journal. Okay. And this is interesting. Coming off of a great experience last night with my son, we watched Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and in it, the character of the Shadow revealed itself. The Shadow character. And maybe a lot of what I get into in this red book. I like when I have my, I watch back. I like when I have my pen. I feel more authoritative with my pen. Like I'm more sophisticated. I've gone through the recordings. This is assessment and evaluation. Don't judge me. When I see myself recording and I got the pen in my hand, I'm like, ooh, that looks like somebody I want to listen to. When I don't have it, I don't know. Those are the things that go through my mind. So the shadow revealed itself in the movie, and I got to talking to my son about the power of the shadow. And movies, I mean, childlike movies are massively influential. I enjoy reading Dr. Jordan Peterson. He references a lot of stories: Pinocchio, Alice in Wonderland, the Big Bad Wolf, and all those other things, and how they have implications in our lives. I read also a, I think it was Maps of Meaning, and all the books, well, not all the books, but a lot of books that are spiritual in nature have sort of this ebb and flow towards meaningfulness, and they deal with the shadow and stories around those things. And we sort of watch it, and I wonder this. I never really looked at it any differently until I started to educate myself about these possibilities. And as an adult, we can be encapsulated by a childlike story. You ever been in that? I don't know how old you are if you're watching this. I doubt you're anything less than a young adult. Why do those stories resonate? Why could we watch a movie, certain in regardless of where you are in your life, and have it resonate so deeply and give you a childlike experience, an imaginative experience? Do you walk away thinking, oh man, what a great possibility? But then you kind of sort of say, I'm an adult. I can't think like that. The paradoxical nature, I would argue that adults who achieve what we think we want to achieve, if you're striving towards success and you're on day, I don't know what day we're on again, but you're talking about improving every day, those adults have to have an imaginative, childlike, emotional, and experience and joy towards whatever it is they're doing. Like me, I have a pen in my hand. I'm more authoritative. I'm creating a character and becoming what it is I'm supposed to become. I also say I watched Dave Chappelle or a clip on Dave Chappelle, and he says something to the effect of, in the beginning stages, we emulate, we sort of mimic, and that's very, very, he didn't say it in these words, I'm paraphrasing, but the literature on and the psychology around human behavior will talk about that we're all mimics. How else would you know? Don't take offense. I'm not casting aspersions or saying someone's doing it wrong. I'm suggesting that if you think about the rhythms, the patterns, and the habits of where you were introduced to life by someone. And that someone was influential. You mimicked them. Why? Because it's highly influential. It burns into your subconscious. You do and say and act and behave in ways sometimes that you think is you, but is not really you yet because you haven't learned all about you because the introduction to you was given to you by someone else. So you go through phases of your life where you sort and these people can be positive. I think a lot of times, and this is my contention with this space. We get into this ideology that it's bad. It's not good for us. You're not really you. You're fake. You've been programmed and you've never broken adolescence. You terrible, unauthoritative, irresponsible human. No, whatever. It's your life. To me, to judge, I mean, what I think it's what you condemn will condemn you. What you judge, ultimately you will become. Is something like that. I really work hard. We're gonna get into this, and I had three things I said I was gonna talk about. It might elude me. I'll go back to it. I'm not looking to judge. I'm just I'll ask questions, explore the possibilities, leave it somewhat open ended, and you make the determination for yourself. But if you can see the logic and the literature and the possibility around your consciousness, you were introduced to the world because that's how we are, the hierarchical structure of just basic plain family. Whether you have a role model who is in your direct family or some sort of whoever that you saw encapsulated you and you saw this person and this image and this reflection and this symbol, you said, ooh, that's dope. I wouldn't mind sort of being like that. You do those things, it influences you, and then you eventually learn who you believe you really are and what's unique to you, and you let out your uniqueness. Sort of like when I come on and say, "Cómo estás, cabroncito?" You know what I'm saying? There was that, I think it's that line in Scarface where he comes into the room, Tony, and he's introducing himself to the guy he's about to make a transaction with, and they say their names back and forth, and then he's like, "When are we gonna get this thing going?" And eventually he's like, "Relax, we're just trying to, relax." And then the Malta, the wife, is underneath with the big. Whatever she got underneath there, and she pulls it out and says, "No te muevas, cabroncito." Oh God, those are the things that go on in my head. Excuse me for a minute. We're gonna talk. I got some things to talk about. It is time for the authoritative pen in hand. No te muevas, cabroncito. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk. I'm in my book. What I was gonna say, two things. The medication. Ba-da-da, da-da-da. Okay. Would you know that toothpaste, for a long time, toothpaste was not adopted? I'm going back to two things. I want to close the loop on the medicated feeling, the sensation, and this is powerful to how we're influenced. And then the Red Book of Thoughts, and what I forget who it was that wrote down there the possibility of how you could journal to help yourself. Toothpaste. You might see it now, and I mean, who doesn't brush their teeth? And let's just say it like that. It wasn't heavily adopted. It took a while to have people say you should do this or your teeth are gonna fall out. And when it was introduced, folks would walk away kind of like, I don't like this experience, for lack of a better term, and to sort of dumb it down a bit to not get too deep into the story because that's not what I want to talk about today at length. And I forget which brand. I don't think it was Colgate. One of the brands figured out a formula that left this tingly sort of, I'll use the word medicated feeling when you were done. And that and what happened with the mind and consciousness and how we built up the habit is when people started to identify with the tingly feeling, the medicated feeling, it all of a sudden became this conscious and subconscious thing that if I and it was something about licking over your teeth and not feeling a film. So to feel the cleansiness and the tingly sensation is what finally took toothpaste over the edge and became a highly adopted product. Consider that today we know about the hygiene of teeth, and it took convincing. I mean, people had imagine what the mouth was like. I don't know if there were dentists back in those days. I don't know how far we're talking, but it's not as far back as you would think. Toothpaste is not like, if we're in 2025, toothpaste hasn't been a thing for 2,000 years. It has not. I think it's 100 maybe. Look it up. But the point is the influence that helped people adopt it, which is what they'll tell you, the power of persuasion. If you can create something that people start to feel like is missing, oh, this sensation. I don't have the tingly feeling. Think about it. If you've ever forgotten, have you ever forgotten to brush your teeth? Do you forget because you're like, oh, you go back in your day and you're like, oops, I rushed out the house and didn't brush my teeth? Or do you go, oh man, my mouth feels a little wet. It doesn't have the tingly sensation. So therefore I know I didn't brush my teeth. Think about that. No te muevas, cabroncito. The second thing I touched on about the power of the possibility of a journal and sort of shifting gears into a little more seriousness because I want to be able to settle in and I want to be able to make this impactful in a different way. Not to suggest that anything I've said to this point isn't impactful. Maybe I made you laugh. Maybe I made you realize you don't want to be here. Maybe I've said something that you don't want to hear, which helped you find something you do want to hear. I'm open to that possibility. I'm open to being somebody who you listen to just once and changes you from the perspective of, I never want to listen to this dude again because what he said makes no sense. So I'm going to go make sense out of something else. Does that make sense? Think about what I just said. Red Book of Thoughts. Back to sort of watching a childlike movie with my son, who is not even a teenager yet. It still has that little, I don't want to say little, right? But he has that youth, that still that innocence towards consciousness and life and just sort of being able to bask in the ambiance of what a movie like Sonic the Hedgehog would do, right? It's all kind of joy and possibility, imagination. The imagination you can see the imagination just kind of like, wow, all these things that are, and yeah. Somebody's gonna say, oh, those lights and the camera and the action and those things going on are no good. Whatever. I'm not here for that today, but if we can enjoy that possibility, the beauty, it's great. It's this imaginative mind, and we become older, we become exposed. And as we become older and exposed, we start to label our emotions. We start to label this level of responsibility that comes with adulthood or whatever it is. We're growing, so we can't have these childlike things because no one is healthy that's childlike, and no one is successful that's childlike. However, in the same way as I've already referenced, a lot of the people you would see wrapped in the type of success you're looking for have to be imaginative in a childlike way, have to be joyous in a way that is like a young child running around a playground, swinging around swings and jumping around monkey bars. I had monkey bars growing up. I don't know what's out in the streets these days. I haven't seen monkey bars in a long time. But the point is, the joyousness of the innocence of not having these labels that create this friction and this insecurity towards our lives. Ironically, quite paradoxically, we lose that as we try to find ourselves, implying almost that we have to deviate from the child in us in order to become this actualized adult. And in that same way, as you reach the potentiality of an actualized adult, the discussions around the shadow revolve with making sure you hug that child, the child in you that you might have missed along the way, the child in you that you sort of said, up, I got to stop being this child, this joyous, imaginative, powerful, free child. What is the freedom offered to you in adolescence? The idea that everything is still open and possible, that you're not restricted or limited by the way life is about to restrict you and limit you just from the structure of how it's built. We get all these responsibilities. Adulthood is all these unfathomable responsibilities of paying bills and being to work on time and getting promoted and writing the papers and all these things that come with the growth into and out of adolescence, out of the imaginative spirit, out of the joyous spirit, out of the possibility of all. We then all of a sudden become these stringent and all powerful adults that are these mature, don't have time for games, people that get caught up in what? A game and a trap that is not even real. So we might even think about that. We might suppress the innocence of our childhood to believe that we could just be these joyous, boisterous, just illuminated creatures of whatever, just accepting whatever freedom life offers, to then saying, that's a game we don't want to play. That's childish. So let's go play the game of adult where we have less freedom, where we restrict our minds, where we become sensitive and insensitive to the power of joyousness outside of, well, that doesn't follow the structure of what society tells us and appears to be successful in a mature adult way. And I give you that level of depth. At least I believe it's a level of depth. Maybe I need it because it helps me uh, think about what I think about that maybe I shouldn't think about, or maybe I should think about deeper. I don't know, but it goes back to the things you think, the thinking things we are, pen in hand, book below me, that journaling could be so important to the evolution of the maturation process of self, the constant improvement of self, the day over day over day, the compound effect, the week over week, the month over month, the year over year, the non-stop, always until death process of reaching new levels and heights. No te muevas, cabroncito. If you're going to move forward. If you're going to go, move ahead. If you're going to do something, make it progressive in whatever way you believe it should be progressive, in whatever way you believe it should make you feel, in whatever spirit you want to be spirited in, whether childlike or not. The sensation, the medicated sensation of that process, you either are ingrained in a way that says, this is me, this is all of me because I found myself after all the years of mimicking, after all the years of seeing how it's done by somebody else, after all the influence that's been put in my face day over day, after all the restrictions and the limits and the suppression of my freedom. Boom. I'm going to break out. I'm going to do it how I want to do it. Outcomes be damned, right? Results be damned. That cliche, let it be what it is. It is what it is. It's all life. In that way, I would say, if you can accept and appreciate that, then the joyousness returns, the imagination returns, because left to break free from what we believe is required for the structure of success, all you can do is imagine. Is that not what you're doing? When you say, this is where I'm at, you wake up and you have this epiphany or you receive this message. I watched somebody yesterday who it really inspired and moved me. They asked this guy the question, "Do you believe in God?" He said, "Yes, of course I do." He said, "Do you want to know why?" The guy said, "Of course. Tell me why you believe in God so much." He said, "Because one day I said, 'What is God?' I don't believe in God. I don't think there's a God." And the next day, randomly, I'm in the street walking, uh, doing my thing, minding my business. Somebody walks up to me and says, "Hey, by the way, I was told to tell you there is a God. Believe in God." Imagine that. Believe it if you want. Don't. Maybe that's too childlike. Maybe that's too imaginative. Maybe that's movie theme-ish. Whatever. Take it for what it's worth. I go back to why this red book. Boom, 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 boom. Ooh, the improvement process. The improvement process, in my opinion and estimation, should make you feel how I feel right now. No judgments. It is what it is. Have fun with your life, even if just for brief moments. Back to the journaling. It is the possibility to release what might have been lost in our insistence on breaking free from childhood and becoming these ferocious and fierce and serious adults that we lose that power, right? So what a lot of this improvement space will guide you towards is journal, inclusive of your shadow, inclusive of hug that child, right? Don't forget the inner you who at some point you said, I don't want to be that you anymore. I got to go be serious about life. I got to go be serious about this success thing. So you'll write in your journal. And I believe, in my experience, it's very innocent at first in the way of, I'll just write some things down. I'll just write some things down. And the more you get comfortable with writing things down, the more you get comfortable with being emotional, the more you start to write some things down where you wonder, yo, I don't want to let this book uh, left in the wrong hands, left in the wrong hands, right? I wonder, is my wife and my daughter, my son, are they near my red book? I haven't got there yet, but I want to give you some specificity around the power of having a specific journal that could help, right? So in that way, you start to think about the sort of things you might write down. And maybe if you're not writing things down right now, it doesn't resonate with you. But the more you write, the more expressive you become. And the more expressive you become, the more you release. The more you release, the more the possibility of having a different emotional experience. And if for nothing else, in your seriousness to be this great strategic authoritative adult, why not give yourself I would ask the question, is it not emotional? However, it's emotional. Do you not want a different emotional experience? No te muevas, cabroncito. Do you not? If you don't, cool. I keep saying it. Do what you got to do. But you're writing, you're writing, and some of it you want to share, right? Some of it you want to share. What if there are some things you don't want to share? What are some? What about if there's some things you don't want to share? And I apologize that it eludes me, but there's a great philosopher. I forget who it was. Maybe I'll spot check it, reference it, and add it in the comments. Presuming I decide to post this outside of the live stream experience. But with regards to some of the darkness, so you talk about a shadow. So in your shadow, part of it might be go return to your childlike ways, give that child a hug, find some closure. If you're going to explode out of childhood and into adulthood because you believe it's this real serious thing where you're going to be successful and great, fine. At some point, did you give yourself closure on your childhood? I asked myself that question the other day. I try to return to my childhood and I try to see myself in my adolescence to remind myself not just that I need a hug, I need a hug, I need a hug. Trust me, I need many hugs. And there's many, many more hugs I got to give myself. No te muevas. And so in that way also, the transition, like I consider all of a sudden I was an adult. And I had a serious transition into adulthood from the perspective of it was very unexpected. It was you're being supported, boom. I don't want to support you anymore. I'm not going to go into detail, but take that for what it's worth. And all of a sudden, you're this adult. They got to get all serious. So part of the work could be that you've never really quite closed your adolescent experience. You've never brought it to, I don't think that it's finiteness, the end. Or you never, how about warmly transitioned? Like, hey, it's not that I don't need you, young adolescent self. It's just that we had to evolve. Did you have that warm acceptance of, all right, this is where the end of us in adolescence goes? As far as, hey, this is just a scene in our movie. It's a chapter in our book. I'm not closing you out. I'm bringing you. We talked about suppressing it. There's nothing. The more you suppress, the more you react and respond emotionally to life, and you wonder, what am I doing? Have you had that experience? Why did I do this? Why did I say that? Why did I behave this way? Why am I in the routines and rhythms and patterns I'm in right now? Well, maybe you have some things that haven't been closed yet. Maybe you suppress some things. Maybe there's some things in there that need to be opened up. Maybe you need to move. So I say, no te muevas. It's time for now maybe you to move. Maybe you need to move. Maybe you need to move. And then as you're moving, look back, reach back, and say, hey, adolescent you, there you are. Come with me. There's some things that we might not know about each other anymore. There's some things I got to tell you. There's some catching up we got to do. Journaling is important. And now I went on that sort of diatribe, what I believe is an eloquent soliloquy about the possibilities of all that is possible because it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful life. It's 4:54 in the morning. I'm flowing. I'm loving. I'm doing. It's the do you rules. Do you how you want to do you. There's 8 billion ways to do you. How do I know that there's 8 billion people in the world? Anyway, so you start the journal. Bum, 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 bum. Is that what is that? The impossible? Ah, that's a Mission Impossible. It's in my head. Whatever. Judge me or not. Let me give you the raw and real on the possibility of another journal. So this great, oh, don't drop the pen. The pen that makes me look so authoritative. Like I know exactly what I'm talking about. Think about that. That somebody could be like this, you need to, and you're like, oh my God, this guy's serious. He knows what he's talking about. All you really do is know him through a camera. I'm just saying, I question my life like that sometimes. Having a book, I talk about this, the deep, dark red book, right? Having a journal where you write down all the things you might lust for and all the things you might want to do that you know you don't really want to do because maybe you're coveting, maybe you're lustful, maybe you're envious, maybe you're jealous, maybe you're sending somebody to hell in your head. We get dark with our thoughts. I'm just I'm I'm just saying let's have a moment here of possibility. That if you are like me and I'm like you and we are like each other because we're all the same but yet we're all different. The types of things that go on in our head that we wouldn't want nope like this book here, I don't care who reads this. My daughter, my son, my wife could pick it up. There's nothing in there that they shouldn't see. Imagine having a book of thoughts that nobody should see. Why? Because I write them down because I wouldn't want to do these things. I wouldn't want to. And pick a thing, anything that you don't want to do, right? Are there things in your life that you look at and you know, I sort of don't want to be in that rhythm and pattern and habit? I don't want to, again, use the words and then peel back what those words and what we might apply them to. We talk about possibly the 7 deadly sins, whether you believe or not. I'm not a believer specifically in the book, but I'm deeply faithful in God, right? What are we gluttonous over? What are we, even our lies, even our secrets, the power that could be if we can release all of what might be under the derivatives of fear and negativity and rage and anger and sin and sin. Hold on one second. My daughter's calling me. Yes, mamita. Hello, baby. Say again. Yes, but you got to give me a few minutes, all right? Probably about 10 minutes. Oh, give me a few minutes. I'll come up now. I'll come up now. I'll be back. My daughter needs some medication. All right, and I'm back. And I think a perfect and powerful moment. I don't know if you. My screen keeps going up. Of what we could possibly write. So let me reset. I thought I was going to go past 5, but I'm having fun. The power of this. I just had a moment. My daughter calls me at 4:57 a.m. Right, and one of the reasons why I do this, when I do it, is because I don't want to be bothered. And it's not just that I don't want to be bothered and that what occurred just now isn't a bother. Language that way. Why do I label it a bother possibly? Because I don't expect her to call me. Because I'm not thinking about her right now. Does that sound horrible? I have a wife and 2 children. When I'm down here, I don't think about them. When I pray and I meditate and I go into my hydration and I go into my recording and I go into my cardio, I'm taking care of me. I'm taking care of me so that I can be there for them in a very present way. Because what this is why I believe so deeply in self-improvement. Once I'm resolved, then I'm fully available for additional roles and responsibilities and masks I need to wear. And every day I need to be resolved. Every day I have to come to a resolution of self that says, have I satisfied my urge to be fulfilled today? How do you want to be fulfilled? I feel like stroking my ego. I feel like telling myself all these, and you call it affirmations, whatever. I feel like dreaming the most vast dreams possible to me. I feel like envisioning being the wealthiest person on the planet, and always that wealth is afforded to me. I feel like pushing my body. I feel like running a little bit faster. I feel like lifting a little bit heavier. Maybe I go a little bit lighter for more reps. maybe I write, maybe I read, maybe I just lay down in the dark. Either way, I need to I need to find time to bring myself into a space to be fully prepared for what my life offers me. And because I do have rhythms and patterns and habits that are outside of me, if I am not resolved within myself, I run the risk of not being there. The way I just right now, with my daughter. So we talk about one of the things that influenced this was this: a book of thoughts of things that you wouldn't want nobody else to hear or see. Two things it does. Before I talk about why I think it's powerful, and it's something that I actually came to a realization of how I wanted to explain and express myself about this power, but it was said in a way that it might make more sense, and it helped me realize what it was I was doing. Funny how when we do these things on our own, we learn about ourselves on our own. We go from mimicking and emulating and sort of being a parrot to becoming our own teacher. That's how long are you going to go in your life constantly being taught before you start to teach yourself? When my phone rang, I didn't want to pick it up because I'm saying to myself, doesn't she know I don't want to be bothered right now? Doesn't she know I'm not even thinking about her? What does she want at 4:57 in the morning? That's terrible as a father. I might cry about that later. I might write about that later because I don't want to feel that. However, I'm human. That's the human experience. I need to resolve that. I need to understand and also not judge. If I'm doing something I love, which I'm doing right now, it's not that I love this more than my daughter, not even close. And that's also what I had to remind myself of as I went through the process. But I'm not expecting to be bothered. Think about the mental space you're in. I am alone intentionally. My mind is thinking, no one needs me right now. That's why I do this when I do it. Like, you think 3:30 in the morning is fun? It is for me now. But it's intentional in that I can't do this at 7 or 8. Forget the other structure I have in my life, the 9 to 5 and the things. I'm a family person. How else would a father with a wife and children find time for himself, or a mother for herself, or a person for themselves? I wait for it. You can't. So it's not that I'm forced into this. I learned. If I have learned to want to take care of myself and resolve myself every single day, I need time to do it. I need time alone, unbothered. So I'm not expecting to be stimulated by any of my other roles. For all intents and purposes, while I'm doing this, I'm merely a person talking into a mic. I don't think about fatherhood or husbandhood or any other livelihood outside of what I'm doing right now. I'm focused here. So now when the phone call comes, it disrupts this emotional energy and flow that I have. It makes me question my life on, why is this phone ringing? I don't care who it is. Why? Because that's, I think, a very standard and typical emotional response. If you're in a flow of love and something that you love to do is exactly what it is you're focusing in right now, and something disrupts that, it's sort of, it's like throwing water on a circuit. You just kind of, you get a little screwed up for a minute. What's happening? You're not used to it happening. You get startled, right? So we use words to describe. My daughter calling me startled me. And left to not rationalize and reason with my emotion, I just simply went through an experience of, why is my phone ringing? Now, when I do that, I run the risk of not responding in a way I want to respond to. It goes back to my virtuousness and my ethics. So it takes a moment to pause and reflect, to say, whoa, that is my daughter. She's calling me for a reason. Why else would she call me at 4:57? And sure enough, she needed some medication. Now, when she asked for the medication, I first said, give me 10 minutes. I had to say, wait. That's not, this is not more important than my daughter. I do this for her. I do this for my family. So, but I had to, part of that came out of me. She could wait 10 minutes. No, she can't. And she could, technically. She's not dying. She's a little Theraflu. She got a little cough. She'll be all right. But why make her wait 10 minutes? For the mic? No, I can come back to it. Took me 2 minutes. I got to walk up 2 flights of stairs. That part of it, this is how we become ungrateful. I got to stop recording. I'm going to lose my flow. I got to go up these stairs. I got to get the medication to go up another set of stairs to go into her room. Those are all beautiful things. But context is everything. The context around stopping, fulfilling myself to go do this, which is in the moment less fulfilling. It sounds terrible. This is why we write these things down. Can point you towards anger, rage, and all these other things. So we use the book to do that. However, one of the things that was written down by this philosopher was that after you write down what might spurn or invoke the emotional experience of envy and jealousy and rage and lust and gluttony and all these things, right? Think 7 deadly sins again. If you could write it down, I wanted to do this with that person. I wanted to do this to that person. I wanted to think this about that. I wanted to do this about that. The process of writing it out, which I believe and what I've learned is what I always do. Take, for example, if you haven't followed me enough to know I was an alcoholic for a long time, right? When that demon surfaces, because it will, I didn't, someone asked me the other day, what was your process for stopping? I just stopped. Was it the right way? I don't know. Could I have suppressed many things? Possibly. Possibly. I certainly suppressed a version of me where it was like, I like this. I like doing this because otherwise, why would I do it? So my point to that is this. When I get the demon and the urge to drink, I don't just, no, stop. God, please help me. I say, okay, let's do this. Let me go through the idea of what I want to drink. Let me see the bourbon. Let me see the rum and coke. Let me see me pouring the ice. Let me see me and feel the process of making myself a drink. Then let me drink it. And let me drink another and another and another. And then let me remember and go through what happens when I'm done with that. Ultimately, I go through the process mentally, and this happens really fast because if you haven't realized, consciousness and your thoughts and your mind move super fast. So I go from the instancy. This is the part of the instant gratification that I think is difficult that we overlook sometimes. We submit to the immediacy and the instancy of the pleasure to say, ooh, this is going to be great. We know the end result, but we ignore that. So we fall trapped to the instancy and the immediacy. Why? Because we don't walk all the way through. We just arrive at the instancy of hangover, terrible, sucks, and we deal with it when it gets there. But if we resolve it in ourselves to say, this is what's going to happen, jerk face, right? However you got to talk to yourself. If you do this, then I can say, yes, it's going to taste amazing. Yes, at some point I'm going to reach a euphoric state that it's like all inhibition is gone. That's what happens, right? And then I go past that because I'm an excessive person. And then I hate myself the next day. And I don't just fast forward. I go through the entire process step by step by step by step. By the time I'm done, I have no desire. I've quelled the demon. I've been able to say to it, no, I don't want to do this. Yes, I will get an immediate rush and sensation. Yes, it'll give me a pleasure. No, it doesn't align with the morals, the values, the ethics, the virtuousness I'm looking for in life. And I think about it's funny. I read way back in history. One of the things that stood out to people about folks who were a certain certain that emanated a certain vibe and energy and a persona were people who were sober. And we've known to be sober for eons. Practicing it very difficult. So in that way, if you could go through the entire book, or excuse me, the journaling process, you might want to put that book, you might want to lock that book up. You might want to get a burn-proof safe and have have it with just what is it, an eye detection or finger detection. Write these things down. It's possible that if you do that, it could help you not want to do that. So consider the possibility of that type of journaling, that style of journaling, and also what I refer to what I go through as the completion of the process mentally of what you don't want to do with your demons or that you do want to do with your demons, and see if you close that all out, if it helps you not do it. I wrote a lot of things in my book. I'm about 13 minutes over where I would be normally. I do want to get into a cardio session, and I do want to get some other things going and flowing. And I think this has been productive to the from the perspective of let me not overindulge in it. There's that too, right? If it was up to me, I'd probably record my entire life. You wouldn't want to watch it, probably, because sometimes I don't want to watch myself. But the indulgence, right? Knowing when sort of should I keep going? Should I end it? Here we go. This is something I thought about. I wrote this down and I'll go to it. I could talk about whatever I want to talk about because I can. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about because we can. We can wrap it in whatever context we want to wrap it in to make it make sense for us. But ultimately, which is why I work really hard on not judging, not providing explicit directive in the sense that I'm telling you what you should be doing and how you should structure and what you should follow. I just say that this is possible. I just say that this is what I've learned because the message here that I wrote down is finding out on your own is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Back to the Chappelle line. Finding out on your own is the greatest gift you can give yourself. At some point, we mimic and mimic and mimic and emulate and emulate and emulate and repeat what we've seen. And it's us. It certainly is us, and we're experiencing it. And then at some juncture, I believe, with the greatest sincerity and emphasis on love and respect to identity and uniqueness in your life I can offer, at some point you find out on your own who you really are. And at that point, well, then you can do whatever it is you want to do with who you are, right? Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich. Ooh, baby. Yes, Layla?